Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of Uncovering the Underground radio show. As always, I'm your host, Skippy Yickham of Brutal Business Entertainment, and I want to thank you for listening in tonight. If you did see our recent messages and posts, that this is the second to last episode of Uncovering the Underground, so I wanted to make a quick announcement and thank everybody for the years of listening and tuning in, for sharing our episodes around and bringing such great artists onto the show, and allowing us to interview them, to listen and love what we're doing. So thank you so much for all of the love and respect over the years. Moving on to a few different things in life, but certainly a lot of back content that you can jump back through almost 100 episodes of this specific show, along with our other radio shows that we do as well. So make sure you tune into those. We do normally bring you a show each and every Thursday night, 8 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is anywhere from Spotify to iTunes and iHeartRadio, Google Play, and everything in between. Just search Uncovering the Underground Radio, and we'll pop up. As I said, you have quite a list of different people to listen to. We bring everything from heavy metal bands and rock bands to models to actresses to authors and everything in between. Always uncovering the underground and picking different people's brains, seeing what makes them tick. And tonight is certainly no different. Now, before we jump into tonight's guest, we did want to go over our sponsors and thank them. You know, one of our last times getting to do so. Thank you so much to Tattooed Scumbag Apparel. If you go to tattooedscumbag.com, you can check out all of their different merchandise, from hoodies to beanies to socks to hats to sweatpants and everything in between. I wear their gear when I'm on stage performing. I wear it when I'm at home. I wear it when I run to the grocery store. I love it. It's quality made clothing, has a good look to it, supports a local tattoo artist and shop owner here in the Pittsburgh area. So make sure you check them out. Put in promo code BBE10 for 10% off your overall order at tattooedscumbag.com. We also want to give a shout out and some love to Roush Designs, R3 Graphics, Legion Artworks, and 5 Milligram Artworks for all the different artwork that they've done for us over the years, and all the work that they've done for all of our artists as well. Make sure you check them out, some of the top quality graphic artists out there, and we are glad to have been able to work with them. Tonight, very excited to bring on our guest. We have Victoria De Mare, who is someone that, you know, certainly needs no introduction, but we're going to give her one and pick her brain a little bit. And, you know, if you guys are listening out there and want to ask her any questions, there are different ways of listening to the show, as I said, but if you go on to Spreaker.com or the Spreaker app, and that's Spreaker, that is our hosting company. It allows you to actually talk to our guests during the show through the instant message feature. You can ask her questions, and I'll certainly bring them up on air. You can leave comments and interact with us, and we always encourage you to do so. And without further ado, Victoria De Mare is one of Hollywood's reigning hottest horror scream queens. For over a decade, according to the cover feature editorial article of the January 2017 issue of Hustler magazine. She has appeared in over 140 film and TV productions and counting. She is best known for her creation and portrayal of the sexy demon succubus clown Batty Boop from the horror comedy feature film series Killjoy, which is now available as an action figure resin doll statue courtesy of Moon Collectibles. November 2017. In November 2018 and again in January 2019, Moon Comix released 2 comic book featuring Batty Boop on the cover, with both censored and uncensored versions that are now available worldwide. I don't want to read much more of her bio. I wanted to give you a little segue into it because we're going to be digging into her brain tonight. But ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Victoria De Mare.
Woohoo! Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, thank you so much for coming on.
145. It's actually 145 now, and actually technically it's over 150, but not all the films are in the database on IMDb yet.
I don't even know how you keep track of them, because I'll tell you what, that is a lot of production. That is a lot of features that you've been on. I mean, congratulations on such a productive career.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yes, I'm a proud working performing artist. So I love to work, and I love my art.
No, absolutely. You have to. I mean, if you're going to, especially if you're in that many films, I mean, you don't do that unless you have a passion for being persistent and pushing for your dreams. So that's awesome. I like to start the show out a little traditional with just what made you decide acting. What, as a kid, is this something you decided that you were going to grow up and pursue acting, or was it something that just kind of fell into your lap and found a love for it?
I was as far back as I can remember, wanting to go to, I mean, this was like kindergarten going into first grade, so literally 5, 6 years old, wanting to go to the movie night that they had down at my school on Friday night, where you could pay your $3 or whatever, and they were playing like the feature Ray Harryhausen film, and it just blew my mind. And just going home and being glued to the boob tube and just couldn't sit close enough to the television watching films, and would go up into my room and my bedroom mirror and my bathroom mirror and act out all these scenes and make up all this dialogue that I was acting out with myself in the mirror. So it was really as far back as I can remember as a child. I just I knew my people.
You just knew. I mean, it just hit you, and you said, you know what, this is going to be my life. That's awesome. Because I mean, everybody is a little bit different when their passion finds them in life. Some it's always been there. Some it was so random that it came along. But sounds like yours has been a lifelong dream that you're making happen.
Yeah, when I saw that, like as far back watching the Ray Harryhausen films, with the Cyclops and the Titans and all this and that, all the fantasy adventure films and, horror films as far back as the original, Jaws and The Exorcist and the original Halloween and Friday the 13th. I mean, those films just blew my mind. When the video store, quote, opened in my town, the family would go to pick out what, videos we'd rent for the weekend. And I always bolted right to the horror section.
That's awesome.
Because of the color. Yeah, because of the colorful artwork and all the amazing artwork on the horror section, not the Disney section, not the child section, and I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 at the time. I mean, I was little. So, and, when, watching, introduced to, you can stay up and watch this movie night kind of thing at school, on school nights, like Wizard of Oz and Grease and stuff like that. And it was just like, I just knew my people in that screen. Like, I knew I belonged on that screen, like whether it was we went to the cinema or it was movie night down at the, school, Greenville school, or it was, on our television screen, and getting a VCR was just the greatest thing in the world, because you could just rent all these movies. And, when the premium cable channels hit, television, the HBO and stuff, you could just sit there and watch movies all day long. I was like, I knew I belonged on that screen. Like, how do you get in that screen? I knew those were my people.
Yeah, it's like, I just want to do this. How do you let me in there? How do I find the key for that?
Where do you go to do this? Where are these people? California. It's like, okay, bye. I'm going.
And that's what you did. You went over there and you made your dream happen. That's awesome. And I kind of, really resonate with that, because as a kid, the local movie store, there was 2 of them, and the one just had really cheap movies you could rent, which was awesome, and then the other one was like a Blockbuster or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it was back then, so it was a little bit of a bigger chain, but they allowed 5 movies, I think, for $7 or something on
oh my god,
I forget, it was like Tuesday nights or something. And I remember I used to have my mom take me up there, and I would go exactly to the horror section, and I would pick out 5 brand new, never heard of horror movies. Not new in the sense that they were new movies, but I mean new to me, and would just binge on them for a couple days, bring them back, and then grab 5 more. And it was a constant thing. I mean, hundreds of movies that I watched over a few year period, and I was pretty young myself. I mean, 9, 10, 11, and 12 years old roughly, and it just was binge watching all these horror movies. And that's always what fascinated me too, and it's always fun to think of VHS and think of horror, think of going to a movie store, which doesn't exist anymore. It's really been tough.
No, that sucks. I remember my father always being like once you watch a movie, like, how can you watch it again? And my response would always be like, how can you not watch it like 100 times? Like, because I would just watch, like, I would have like 5 movies I'd watch over the weekend, and I would just watch them all over and over and over and over again, because every time you'd see something new, you'd recognize something new. And it's just, I mean, that's what makes it such incredible art, is that you can watch it until it breaks like a billion times or whatever. And then I'm one of those people, when I would wear out my cassette tape or CD or VHS or DVD. Once it would break and I would wear it out, I go buy another one. I mean, I'm a collector. I have all those things, and so I would always have all these collections of stuff in my room, and it was like my favorite stuff. And it was just like, how can you watch a movie more than once? It was like, how can you even ask that question? How can you not watch a movie that you love more than once? Like, that would be like saying, how can you listen to a song that you've already heard like more than once? It's like, how can you not listen to that song that you heard that you love like a million times? Like,
no, you have to.
Stupid question.
You said it. You pick up new things each time. I mean, I feel that if you watch a movie, if you listen to an album, and you pick up everything that there is to pick up the first time through it, then it's probably pretty bad.
Yeah, there's like no way. Exactly. There's like, and yeah, exactly. Like, especially when something's good, you're like, oh, I gotta listen to that again. Like, I gotta listen to that again. Like, I'll listen to my favorite song like a million times, you know.
And I love
watch my favorite movie like a billion times.
And I love it when you do that million or billionth time, and like you said, you catch something brand new where you feel like you know it like the back of your hand, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, what was that? And then you're like, oh my God, I never seen that before.
I know.
And it's cool. There's a lot of hidden Easter eggs within things that you just don't catch until, you know, the 500th watch. That's why you and my wife would get along, because she watches the same thing over and over again, to the point where I stare at her and I'm giving her like the evil eye, and she's like, well, babe, you'll learn new things. And she pushes for that as well. But sometimes it's too much. I'm all about watching a film a few times. And when she's on like the 19th time watching a movie, I'm like, all right, we're cool. Can't do it anymore.
I'd be watching it like 50 times, man. I'll listen to the same thing with CDs. Like, I still get like the CDs because I like to open the package and the artwork and all the stuff that's in there, and they get the lyrics in there. I love, like, as a collector, to like have the actual merchandise in my hand rather than just a digital like click on my phone that I can play. So I'll wear that thing out, man. I'll listen to it till it just. It's just worn out. I just won't play anymore.
Well, we've talked about it several times on the show over the last couple of years, and the feeling of going, not so much movies. I've always liked movies too, but CDs is where it really got me, where I'd go to the CD store and you'd pick out them couple albums and you'd rip that cellophane wrapper off, and you'd have to peel those damn stickers off the top that you could never get off. And you're like picking at it just to get to your CD, and you open it up and you got the new CD smell, the booklet, the thank yous, the artwork. It was one of the greatest feelings in the world.
I know. I can't believe that they're like not hardly making CDs anymore. I was literally over the holidays, the end of last year, in Target, and went to the movie section and then the music section, and it was like it was like I was somehow in the dollar store, and like the merchandise was dwindling. And by the time I got to the music section, I said to the clerk, like, where did the rest of it go? Because there was like a few like vinyl albums and a few CDs like in a corner of one end of an aisle. There wasn't even like a section, and I was like, where's the rest of the music section? And they were like, this is the music section. And I was like, what? And this was like in like Target, like a major like outlet, and it was like, holy hell. And it was like Britney Spears, like Cher, Frank Sinatra. It was like this random like display of like music that they had to offer, and they weren't even like their current releases. It was like best of.
Yeah, just this like random old albums shoved in the corner with a bookshelf in front of it, like gathering dust.
You're like, what the hell? Like, where's the music section? And then like when we go to like the cool music store, like Amoeba Records, where they have like everything, even vintage stuff, new stuff, everything, they freaking closed down. Like, right, I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Like, you can like your only like almost your only option these days is just digital downloads and streaming. That's it.
It killed everything. I mean, there's pretty much all music stores in the Pennsylvania area got eradicated years ago, and there was a few that hung on, and one of the big ones here in Pittsburgh was Dave's Music Mine in the South Side. And just this little mom and pop shop right on the main street of Carson Street in Pittsburgh, 65 bars on one street. It's an awesome street. It's like what Pittsburgh's famous for. And then you just have the CD store slap dab right in the middle of it. And it held on until last year. It finally closed its doors, and it was sad to see because, I mean, and I don't think it would ever made it through this COVID pandemic if it would have made it, but it closed its doors last year, and it was kind of heartbreaking because that's the last real CD store that I know of. Like you said, there are still Targets and some random one-offs that are kind of bigger ones, but they have everything kind of tucked in the corner. But as far as mom and pop CD stores, at least over on this side, there's really nothing left.
No, there's nothing left. No.
Digital made it so easy. I mean, it's a blessing, but at the same time, I feel like that's the problem with our world is we make everything so easy now. Everything's so easy and so expected instantly. As we talked about before, instant gratification. You want it now. I don't want to rip off the cellophane. I don't want to have to drive to the store. I just want to, I just heard about a new artist. Click, click, click. I got 5 of his albums on my phone.
Right.
And that's cool, but I mean, that really just harpooned the heart of the entertainment industry, both with music, with radio, with movies, and then it kind of bled into everything else. I mean, everything, even magazines, newspaper, everything is now digital.
Yes, it's unbelievable. It absolutely is. I still, as a collector, like to purchase the actual DVD or Blu-ray or CD. I really do. Actually, I like to actually hold the merchandise and all the goodies that come with it inside the packaging. I really miss it.
Me too.
I think there's a difference in as far as music, as far as the digital files and the files on CDs. I think there's a difference in the audio quality. Myself, I write and create and produce and mix a lot of music and. All the time. My catalog is growing all the time. I have well over 50 songs now, and I'm listening to music all the time, even when I'm not mixing and creating for projects on my own productions or productions I've been contacted to create for. I'm always listening to music. Music is everything to me. Music is my passion, and I strongly feel that there is a difference in the audio quality. That the music on the CDs and vinyl is different, and as versus the digital quality files. And I think that the music sounds better on CDs. I think the next best is actually vinyl. Tapes not really so great, and then you get into the digital quality. So actually, I think the audio quality on CDs is actually the best.
I agree. I mean, I think that you get a very eclectic sound with the old vinyl records, but as far as clarity and the best sound, CDs would be it. And then, like you said, I think tape, the cassette tapes was just kind of a strange idea in between. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, we're going to go from vinyl to tapes and then to CDs, and everybody's like, what the hell do we have these tapes for? They suck.
The tapes are so good. That's why I would say vinyl. I would throw vinyl maybe in there as second because the tapes, no.
Yeah, you just gotta skip because you'd rewind them back and then they'd like, and then all of a sudden there's film everywhere and you're like, oh, okay, that tape's ruined. I just spent $10 on this tape, Dazed and Confused and everything. It was. I remember listening to it though as a kid. I remember having like the Dazed and Confused soundtrack and some other really crazy. Songs on tape, and I would just listen to that over and over and over again until my mom would come in and take the plug and then make me wait like a day or two before plugging it back in because I would just jam. I mean, music was always my big thing too.
That's so funny. Like I had like a million tapes, yes, but it's funny how with like an audio medium they put that on film. Like I think that's why cassette tapes didn't work somehow. Trying to put that audio file on like essentially like paper, like film, the tape is like
it didn't work out as good as they thought it was going to, that's for sure. But VHS hung on for a while. I'll tell you what. I mean, VHS were in for a minute, and then that was a big switch over when they switched over to DVDs. Was like, what is this?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Yeah, that was huge.
It was like we were all really accepted the CDs from the tape. So like whenever people were like, we're going to have music on CDs, we're like, okay, we dig this. But then they're like, we're going to have movies on a CD. And I was really kind of against it. I was a real big VHS guy. So when they said that, I'm like, I don't know.
I know. I was totally against it. It's so funny.
Well, the other thing was I had this massive, massive collection of movies on VHS. So when they brought this out, I'm like, are you kidding me now? I just finished my collection. Now I have to start again?
I know it's bullshit too. I still have films on VHS. I still have a VHS player, and I still have some films on VHS that I have like refused to get like on DVD and Blu-ray that I still have on VHS. And like every time I try and play it, like I'm always like praying that this is the day that the VHS like machine just stops working and just eats at the tape.
It just explodes.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, that definitely was a feeling I had. I as strange as it sounds, as a kid, I was a huge John Wayne fan. I still am. I love John Wayne. But as a kid, I really liked John Wayne, and I had worked as a child, which is strange being my age and being that into John Wayne. I mean, he'd been gone for a long time at that point, and it's Westerns. But I loved his films, and I, over a span of time as a child, picked up every single John Wayne movie, which is like 105 movies. You know what I mean? It's like an extensive list. And then I literally had just finished the collection, and it was like a year and a half later. They're like, DVDs. And I'm like, nope. Like I've never went and repicked it back up on DVD. I won't do it because I'm sore about it. It holds a sore spot in my heart.
Exactly. There are some films that I'm like, oh man, like my first Blu-ray player wore out before my VHS player has worn out that I've had like forever. So it's like it's hanging on by a thread.
Okay. Yeah, Blu-ray's definitely awesome though. I mean, the clarity you get on a Blu-ray, you can't really beat it.
Yeah, it's better. It's absolutely better.
No, we do got some comments coming in. Let's look back through some of these. We have some people,
oh, really? Good.
Yeah, we have some people saying hello, hi, what's up? What's up, everybody? Hello, Miss Victoria.
Hello.
And then I see an uncensored Batty Boop. I want to see.
Yeah. You can go to my website, my store page. You can order that right now.
There you go, Jay. That's Jay Ron's the person that left a comment on that. We have Anthony.
VictoriaDeMare.com. The store page is, you'll see it on the heading. You can click on it from the homepage. It's VictoriaDeMare.com.
Get it now. And then we got, let's see what else we got here. We have someone saying Field of Dreams 2 times, back when we were talking about seeing movies over and over again. YouTube is now my theater, which I guess that's probably for a lot of people. You can find anything on YouTube.
I know, seriously. I found some like audio recordings of books that were only on vinyl that are on YouTube.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, that's been my new big kick, is I love reading. I read a massive amount. I mean, it's pretty much all I do. I'm a dork. But I have been finding these old occult books that you can't really find anywhere else that someone has been doing audiobooks of. So it's a very left field book that you wouldn't normally hear, but I can hear it, and I'm like, all right, because Amazon nowhere else is carrying it. It's just some random old guy like, hey, I'm going to read this 15th century grimoire. And I'm like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, and it's all on YouTube. I mean, you can unlock the dark side on YouTube.
Yes.
We have Lord of the Rings trilogy, first time, 3 different sites, or 3 different cities and theaters. Well, that is awesome, Jay, that you were that dedicated to go over and over again. And Lord of the Rings was a badass movie. I mean, the graphics in that movie still are one of the best I've ever seen anywhere.
I have the first. Tell that if that fan's listening still. I have the on I guess on DVD. I have the first 3. The first one and I can't remember, with the 2 Towers, and then the Return of the King, and then I have all 3 Hobbits on Blu-ray. All of those 3 as well. I'm a huge fan.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The books were amazing, and then the movies were phenomenal. And that's one thing, is most of the time something goes to film, I'm not going to say always, but most of the time it is a letdown of some sort, no matter how good the movie is. It's never as good as the book to me. Very, very seldom. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbits did it justice. I watched them. I was skeptical when I watched them. I'm like, you know what? Okay. Yeah, I get it.
It's pretty close. It was pretty well done.
Nothing's ever as good as your own imagination, but it was pretty damn good. I mean, one movie I absolutely love, but I also think the book blows it out of the water, would be The Shining. I think that it's an amazing movie. I think they did a very good job with it. It's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, but I think that the book just absolutely pulverizes it. Yeah.
Yes. The book. There's a strong argument for both audiences, but I agree. I mean, the film is iconic, but there's nothing like that book.
There's just things in the book that they didn't put in the film, and emotions that they explained in the book that weren't
In the book, yeah.
Yeah, they weren't portrayed in the movie, and I'm like, that was a major pivotal shift of your feeling of this whole story, and I'm like, leaving that out leads you down a whole different path that was never intended by Stephen King. I'm like, so I don't know. I mean, I think he's obviously, most all Stephen King movies have been pretty badass and all of his books are killer, but I think that sometimes the directors have really taken his vision and just kind of skewed it in an unfavorable direction, but they've still turned out well. Even it, I think the original It badass too, but it's still not as good as the book.
True. I totally agree. I mean, people with horror films, even like when there's something like based on a true story, like based on a murder, like they always fantasize things and becomes a fantastical version of what actually really happened. And, it's just for the entertainment value.
No, absolutely. And I'm reading a comment that just came across that I'm seeing. Says, this is this is most relevant to all of my interests, the show tonight. And that is from Anthony. Anthony is a member of Brutal Business Entertainment. He runs a column called the Gruesome Gazette, which is a horror movie review column. And he's definitely into horror. He's into film. He is into music. He's into beautiful ladies. So you pretty much bring it all to the table. So, Anthony, this show is for you tonight, brother.
Thank you, Anthony. Rock and roll, man. Horror forever. Woo!
He does a great job. I'll tell you what, we started a review column a couple years ago, and he busts his ass on it. I mean, several articles a week of reviews of movies in depth, and he does a very nice write-up. I don't know how he finds the time to do all of it. We're transposing it into an actual magazine right now.
Oh, hell, that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's working out pretty good. So congratulations, Anthony. Keep killing it, brother. We're very proud of you. You have a tweet, Victoria. I don't know what the hell is being said to me right now. I don't know if they're asking if you have a Twitter. I'm not understanding the comment.
I do. I'm at Victoria De Mare on Instagram and Twitter, and at the Victoria De Mare on Facebook. My website is victoriademare.com.
Like it now or you die. No, but talking about horror a little bit, obviously you've been planning on getting in film since a child, and you always were very drawn to the horror side of things and the horror genre, but did you think that if you ever got into acting and actually made it happen, that would be kind of where you landed? Because I know you've done action, you've done horror, you've done a slew of things, but you're based around the horror genre. Is that where you thought you would end up?
I mean, that's where just the natural progression of my career began. When I was 13, I actually wrote a short thriller about a little girl who masterminds one of her older family members who's a little slow to kill her entire family so she can take over their fortune because she hates them. My uncle on my father's side had actually directed the film. He was a television director actually in daytime TV. He was actually an Emmy nominee in daytime television. So he was very impressed by my idea and my story and my script and my short at such a young age. And he had asked me who's going to play all this, and I was like, well, we are. So I made this little film with him, and it was a thriller. So I just kind of always knew that was kind of the direction I was going in. And when I was 13 years old and doing that, I mean, I thought of myself as, a professional then. Like my very first professional job in the arts was actually a dancing job at 6 years old before I had actually even started studying dance.
Oh,
and
wow,
so
okay.
I thought I was a professional, by the time I was making a film at 13, because I starred in it, I played the young girl, I wrote it, I created it, and I I sat through the editing process, and everything, and I already thought I was a professional then, and when I went to NYU, and my first year was in the Tisch School of the Arts, in the dance department, and so a lot of my friends were in the drama and the film department in Tisch, and so we were always doing stuff for their classes. I was always in all my friends, the film students would make little shorts and things for their homework, for their classes, and I was always in all their stuff and all the presentations that in the drama department that my friend were doing that needed extra people or what have you. So like I by the time I was actually making a living at it, I felt that I had already been a professional, like, for a long time.
No, that's awesome though. You went in strong. You didn't have doubts. That's the biggest thing. Is if first and foremost, people's biggest problem would be not taking the risk to ever try it. But secondly, they always carry that fear with them. Fear is the biggest deterrent in life. People don't realize that fear directs everybody's life, and it's ridiculous that if you have that fear, it's going to stunt your growth. So if you're always worrying about, oh, I'm not at my peak right now, I'm not growing to where I need to be, then you're exactly right. But if you just go in headstrong and say, you know what, I'm already a professional, I'm badass, and I'm going to do this, and you carry that, it's not that you're cocky, it's that you were very confident. And when you go in and do it that way, and you think that way, you project that energy out, and you bring upon that exact emphasis of what you're trying to portray, and that it shines through your movie. So that's awesome. I mean, that's exactly the type of mind state you want to be in.
Exactly. Like I had friends and whatnot, along the way asking, what if, what if this, what if that, what if you didn't make it, what if you didn't get hired, what if you couldn't make a living at all, what if you couldn't pay your rent, what if, with all these negatives, all these negative results, and asking questions that would that would result in a negative answer, and that we're in the negative mindset. And I would just say, I never had a plan B, because I never considered that I would need one. Like I never considered that I wouldn't make it. I never considered that I wouldn't be cast. I never considered that I wouldn't be able to pay my rent through being an artist. That's who I am. That's what I do. Like I never considered the latter. So maybe that's why the result was that I did succeed in that. And I have for over 20 years, because I never considered that I wouldn't. Like I thought that like I was like this huge thing when I was like 6 years old. Like my mother was a professional ballet dancer, and so when I was really little, she would take me to certain rehearsals and classes and whatnot for her performances, rather than getting a babysitter, because she could just sit me down with my coloring books or whatever by the side of the studio or the door and be able to watch me and still participate in the rehearsal in the class or whatever. And I like to go because I like to watch. And she would start to come out of rehearsal, and I would be dancing around in the dressing room doing the moves that she was doing, like, look, mommy, and she'd be like, well, how about that? You just did my job, like what I'm in there like doing. And when one of her performances came up, I begged her until, I was just the gnat that would not die, would not go away, and to audition for her next show. And she was like, this is, so absurd to bring my child in here to audition for this job when you're not even a member of the company. You've never even taken a ballet class or lesson. And this is appalling. And I'm going to be the laughing stock, and I'm totally embarrassed, but you will not leave me alone. So fine. I'm taking you, get dressed, And so I went and auditioned, and I got the job. And then she was like, oh,
In your face, Mom, in your face.
Totally. And I was all that, like blowing on the knuckles and like dusting off on the shoulder, like, ha, kind of thing. You better open that bank account for me, because there's going to be a deposit coming.
That's right. I'm getting paid now, Mom. I don't need you.
So, and that was, like first grade. So, I was from the, like I said, when those movie nights, Friday nights at the Greenville School, watching the Ray Harryhausen movies, I was like, how do you get it? Where do you go to do where's that at? Where's that at? Where are those people? Like, I wasn't kidding. Like,
yeah, you were ready to ante up and take that next step and say, you know what, I already proved myself once, let's prove myself again.
I was ready to, like, when I saw Gone with the Wind, I was like, and when are they making number 2? Because I'm auditioning for Scarlett, O'Hara, like now, when I was like 7, 8 years old. And I was like, are they making a number 2? Because where do you go to audition? Like, where do you sign up? I'm ready. Because I'm going to book that right now. Like, I was like that when I was obnoxiously young.
I love it though. I mean, that drive it's admirable, and I mean that's what you need to have to make it. Now that actually leads right into a really great question from one of our fans' comments here. We have Patrick asking, at what point in your career when you realize, let me reword that. At what point in your career was it that you realized, wow, this is actually happening? A defining moment, I guess you could say.
Hi Patrick. I would say when I first moved to California, about 21 years ago, actually exactly in a couple weeks. I drove into Sunset Boulevard and I was like, oh crap. I don't know how much we can swear on this show, but I used a different word and I was like, no, this is Hollywood because I was coming from New York and city and I was very disappointed. But very shortly after that, I was homeless for a couple months, and I finally got in a dinner theater show, and I was able to pay. I actually found an apartment where I actually was able to save through doing the dinner theater show. It's just funny because I came from New York City and I was in Los Angeles doing dinner theater, but it was like you got a meal with the show. I'm freaking homeless. So it was like awesome. And I was like, see, I'm living in my car, I'm living on the street, and I got a paying job as an artist. Ugh, homeless. And I got a job. And then once I got that apartment from saving the money from that show, I got an audition for a Roger Corman film, who's the king of the bees, one of the most famous filmmakers and producers of all time in cinema history, not just horror and action and thriller and sci-fi, which are kind of all the same umbrella, which are my favorite genre of film. I mean, the most popular genre of film worldwide, hands down, has always been horror and that whole umbrella of horror. And so when I booked that film shortly afterwards, and I had submitted through a casting notice in a newspaper called Backstage West, and I got the job in a Roger Corman film. One of my friends, who's dear friend and colleague, whose name is Peter Green, who you might know from The Mask and Pulp Fiction,
Yes.
And several films, had said to me at the time, "Oh my God, Vic, you booked a Roger Corman film," and I was like, "Yeah," and it's a horror comedy. And he's like, "Oh my God, it's so effing perfect for you." And I'm like, "I know." And he was like grabbing me by the shoulders and like shaking me, like, "Do you know what this means?" kind of thing, like. And he was like, "You made it, man." And I was like, oh my God, right? I was like, oh my God,
This is your moment.
So, yeah, and I was like, oh my God, and this is the last film they were shooting at his famous Venice Beach studios in Venice Beach, California, where so many James Cameron and Jack Nicholson and Sandra Bullock and Rick Rossovich and everyone that you could possibly remember, the list just goes on and on, were there. And I was just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I guess it was, I got a job as an artist and I'm homeless too. And I was like, yeah, I was even on the street. Ugh. And then once I got into that apartment from making the money off that gig, I was like, see, all I had to do was get a residence, man. And I had paper plates and plastic forks and knives and paper cups, and I was doing rug angels because I was like, I got a residence, and booyah, I booked a mother effing, Roger Corman film. I did it. I made it.
No, that's it though. That's an amazing moment.
So that was it. And then after that was no stopping me. And now I'm an action figure, 2 comic books, a T-shirt.
It's weird to think about, though, right? When you look at it, it's like there's an action figure of me, and I'm on comic books. It's not even I think the films are cool. Obviously, that's the main bread and butter of it all. But I mean, when you look at the exterior things, that was always my favorite in the industry. It was not even my music, but it was the merchandise. It was the posters. It was the other things that came out that I'm like, okay, wow, I got a poster. There's a poster of my ugly face, somewhere.
Exactly. I was so excited when the Killjoy series became very popular again with the third film, that John LeCharco came back to kind of resuscitate that series and kind of made it more of a horror comedy series rather than the urban horror thriller that it was, kind of supernaturally ish also as well, elements to the first one especially. And so I was so thrilled because Full Moon they have Full Moon Collectibles and Full Moon Comix and Full Moon Direct, and just they do merchandise you would not believe, which is so much fun, because that's all the big companies, and they're a big little company that still does all that. So I was like, holy God, I was so hoping that I thought either the latter with Batty Boop, I was either going to go down as the worst actress in history and this was just going to bomb, or she was going to become like a cult, like iconic, like little thing, and they were going to merchandise the shit out of her, and it was going to become like this thing. And I was very happy that she became the thing rather than going down in history as being horrible.
Well, I think
but at least I was gone down as something.
No, and I think that you're right with that statement, that with that role specifically, it was either going to go very well for you and you would be recognized as that character, or it was going to flop and it would have really caused some damage for you. But I think it worked out very well, and it's led into a lot of other open doors, which is awesome.
Yes, actually, I'm in the new Steven Seagal movie. I have one of my pop songs is in the film, and also I co-star in it with Johnny Messner and DMX and Bill Cobbs and Zach Ward. It's actually a really great film. It's Steven Seagal's comeback. It played in theaters, like in 20 cities, like in 11 countries worldwide, especially in the States for a couple months, and it went to digital, and it's now on premium cable, which is really exciting. It'll be playing on Showtime for the next 2 years, so there's no way you'll miss it if you want to see it, because it's playing all the time. But actually, the filmmaker of that production, it's called Beyond the Law, is a fan of Batty Boop. And finally, after 20 years of my career, when people are like, "Oh, you're an actor, what have I seen you in?" I could be like, "Oh, did you see the new Steven Seagal movie?" Because first of all, I'm a huge Steven Seagal fan. I was a Aikido student. I'm a beginner, but still, I love martial arts. I love Steven Seagal. I love the fact that he's doing a comeback. He's actually not doing movies like sitting on his ass in a chair anymore. He's actually up doing keto again and doing his thing that made him so great in the 90s. And, I think he still has it. And I think it's great when someone even tries to attempt to come back, because, they're trying to do something. And so much about life is just trying. It doesn't matter if you fail. When you're a little kid and you're trying to learn how to walk and you fall down on your ass and your face 100 million times, you never go, "Well, fuck it, I'm not going to walk anymore. I'm just going to crawl around the rest of my life." No, you can't. You continue to get up until you're a walker. So you do that the rest of your life, you'll always succeed. So I hate it when people give people a hard time for, "Oh, they're doing a comeback," and they laugh. It's like, it's the same thing as when you fell down when you were a little kid. So I think it's great when someone does a comeback. Like, why not? He's not in the grave yet. And so now people are like, "Oh," because now they actually know him. And then it's like, "Oh, and by the way, did you see my action figure?" And, oh, you're a collector of comic books, aren't you? Well, I've got two. So it's like, I don't get that, like, "Oh, yeah, what have I seen you in?" It's like, let me get out my roll of over 150 productions, bitch. And then maybe I'm sure you've seen or at least heard of one of them.
Well, and that's the thing, is you have to have that doorway title. You can be in a lot of great films, you can be in a lot of great horror films, but the problem is not everyone watches horror. So whenever you say that you're an actress and people ask, "Well, what have you been in?" they don't recognize that. But as soon as you say that name, as soon as you say, "Well, do you know who Steven Seagal is?" "Well, of course I know who Steven Seagal is. Well, I was in his newest film." And that instantly creates that snap, and they're like, "Oh, really?" Like, well, what else have you been in? And then, like you said, let me pull out my Rolodex here and show you all the movies I've been in. Let me show you my action figure. And that's when you gain attention. That's when you gain the fan. And that's what you can do. But you can lose them on the other things. So if you say, "Well, have you ever heard of the Killjoy series?" people could be like, no, I don't care. And I hate to say it that way, but there's people that don't watch horror, and they'll think of that way. But as soon as you get in with the Steven Seagal line, then they do listen to the horror, and they actually are interested. It's like it's a weird form of hypnotism over people. They have to recognize something first, and then they're all about it. But if they don't recognize it, it's almost like they're in their gray zone, and they get like in panic mode, and they don't want to know.
I know, and I'm so excited too, because now, excuse me, on the horror genre, I actually co-star in Sid Haig's final film, and most people in the horror genre know Sid Haig from the Rob Zombie movies, House of a Thousand Corpses and Halloween. And Sid Haig had been a working actor for 40 plus years, but someone popular puts him in a popular series, and then all of a sudden he has a resurgence of fans. So when people horror-wise aren't familiar with the Killjoy series, which few true, like real cult horror fans are, very few of them are unfamiliar with it. They may not have seen it, but they've heard of it and know of it. But now, thankfully, to the success of Hanukkah, which is the first Jewish horror slasher film, and it was unfortunately Sid Haig's final film and the iconic character actor Dick Miller.
Yep.
So now people go, oh my God, you were in Sid Haig's last film, and Dick Miller, of course, I don't know many people who don't know who that is. Then they go, oh my God, I got to see it, because most people, especially in the horror genre, know that Sid has passed. And it wasn't Rob Zombie's film 31 that was his final film. It was actually Hanukkah, the film that I co-star in with him. That includes a lot of incredible actors that were very much iconic, especially in the 90s, like Carolyn Williams, iconic horror actors like PJ Soles from, the 70s and 90s. One of my favorite actors from the 80s and 90s, Roger Rabbit himself, Charles Fleischer, is also in the film. I was like a dream come true working with him. I couldn't even believe it. So there's just an amazing amount of just performances in this film. It's a serious horror slasher film. It is very, very gory when it needs to be. There is certainly comic relief, but it's also very dramatic too. Like, there is a real story going on, and a real mystery going on, and it really is entertaining. And if you love the Halloween scores, Henry Manfredini also does the score, does an amazing job. So this film is still actually playing in some drive-ins, because certain cinema chains aren't open at the moment because of the pandemic. So it's still been playing mostly in the Southwest and some drive-ins in Arizona and Texas. But it is available, of course, online, Blu-ray, DVD, digital and streaming, etc. But now, actually, aside from what have I seen you in, or what have you been in, and mention Steven Seagal, and people say, oh, what horror? Oh, you were a screen queen. What horror movies have you been in? When you say Sid Haig's final film, they go, oh yeah, I want to see that. So at least, thank God for those two actors and being cast in those films.
No, that's something I'm glad we've I usually am able to kind of flow in with the conversation to lead it the way that I intended it to, and it's gone that way, because you brought up the Steven Seagal movie right around the time I was going to ask you. You went straight into Hanukkah, with Sid Haig and Dick Miller, which I was planning on bringing up. So that's great that you brought them up in that order, because both of them are amazing accolades to have, and that's obviously humbling to be in their final movie for the two of them, because both amazing actors. And as you said, a lot of people know Sid Haig from House of a Thousand Corpses and from Halloween and from other Rob Zombie movies, but anyone that's a true horror buff or horror fan knows that he has been in movies for years upon years and has just been in so many great horror movies. I mean, I was watching him as a young kid, and I mean, it was awesome to see when we got older. He kind of really got boosted by Rob Zombie, but I mean, at that point, he'd already been in so many films that I'd watched, and it was truly just heartbreaking to hear that he had passed. And then obviously Dick Miller is a legend as well. We actually have some comments coming in. Anthony had said a few things here. He says, I only ever watched the first Killjoy, but it looks like I need to watch the others, and God damn it, Anthony, you do. Make it happen. And then he put Dick Miller with exclamation marks, and then which means he's thinking about definitely watching the movie and probably doing a review on it. And he says, that sounds familiar. Was it Hanukkah? And yes, it is.
Yes, Hanukkah. You can find it on Amazon and iTunes. And you can also go to Hanu Killer, HANUKILLER.com. There's all kinds of information about the movie, the making of the movie. There's special collector's edition discs like Blu-rays and DVDs, and all kinds of merchandise from the film too. I think there's also a Hanu Killer Instagram page. I don't think there's a Twitter page, but I'm 100% sure there's an Instagram page. They also have a Facebook page as well.
I'm telling you right now, give it about 7 more seconds, and Anthony's probably on every one of those sites you just mentioned, checking it all out. He loves it. So check it out, brother. Hopefully you enjoy that. But no, 2 amazing projects to be a part of, like I said. And if you're listening out there, folks, because we have a lot of people just listening to discover new artists, if you have not checked Victoria out, here's a great chance to do so. And any of her past releases on any of the sites and platforms that she just recently mentioned throughout this interview, and obviously in the new Steven Seagal movie and the new horror movie Hanukkah with Sid Haig and Dick Miller, which something everyone should see out there. If you're an underground horror fan, check it out, because obviously, the ending of Legends there, and it's a humbling thing. So check that out. If you're just tuning in now, please know that you can, at the end of the show, stream back and listen to the entire episode. Right now we are live, so you'll have to listen to us till the end. But if you missed anything, don't fret. You can certainly jump back to the beginning. You can download it, keep the episode forever, have Victoria in your pocket, keep it, it's yours, and jump back through any of the other episodes we have as well. And if you want to interact with us, like we have so many comments coming across right now, you can jump onto Spotify and iTunes, listen to us on any of those platforms. But if you want to talk to us live, you have to do that through Spreaker.com, and that's Spreaker. All right.
Awesome. People can also check out my current fourth solo album. The title is called Fuck You, so I hope I'm not screwing up any broadcast guidelines by
oh no, you're unfiltered here.
The title. So the fourth album's titled Fuck You. It's on Spotify, it's on YouTube, it's on all the platforms where you can stream it and download. You can stream it on YouTube for free. And it's an eclectic 12-track album. The running time is only about 37 minutes, so it's a good album to throw on with your headphones while you're taking a walk, or just throw it on while you're running to the store or whatever. There are 10 different genres of music included on this album, so it's a real ride, like you're listening to Spotify or Pandora or something. I've created everything, and it's the follow-up to my third album, which was a 14-track album titled #Twat, which included 9 different genres of music. So I was trying to push the envelope with Fuck You. So check it out. I hope you enjoy it.
I love it. #Twat and Fuck You. You can't get any better than that, folks. If you haven't listened, you need to go pick them up, because that's awesome. This woman just became my hero. Real quick.
Debut solo album was Victoria De Mare, of course, self-titled. The second album was titled Can You Not Tell, but of course the C-U-N-T, spelling out cunt. The third album was just straight up #Twat, like spelled out #Twat. And the fourth album was straight up Fuck You. So everyone can check all those albums out. They're all available online, except the first album is only available still as a limited edition, believe it or not, signed CD. You can still get from my website, victoriademare.com. But Can You Not Tell, #Twat, and Fuck You are all available online.
That's awesome. And you need to listen from start to finish in the correct order, folks. It will tell you a story. The first one you might not be able to listen to because you might not have a device that still plays CDs in this day and age, but you can certainly own the collector's edition. And real quick, I do want to jump into a song break. This is not going to be Victoria here, folks. This is going to be one of our past guests. And we're going to come back, talk a little bit more about her music side, and we'll close out for the evening. But this right here is Dematis, and this is the song November. Check these guys out, and we'll be right back on Uncovering the Underground.
To please, as you were born in this, hold everyone in your darkest hour. We pushed in the soul, heard no faith above. Your only longing was to escape this unjustified, cruel lullaby. Sign your soul. Lost reward history instead of this tragedy. Lost reward history instead of this tragedy. Wait, let's change just today. Wait, got to go. Reasons why to live or to die. Checked, weighed down the unknown. You couldn't escape the beast. You long inside for peace. The world just couldn't give you. This is justified. Ghosting lullaby. Song your soul to sleep. Let's rewrite history instead of this tragedy. Let's rewrite history instead of this tragedy. Wait, let's change yesterday.
Alright guys, we're back on Uncovering the Underground Radio Show, brought to you by First Angel Media and Brutal Business Entertainment. We've been hanging out for the last hour and 7 minutes with Victoria De Mare, a wonderful actress in the horror genre. She is a musician, she has modeled, she has done it all, folks. She has danced. She is just a bundle of joy and talent that we have certainly loved having on the show tonight. During the break, we were talking a little bit about spirits and got carried away, so if you had a few minutes of silence there, that is why we were having a good time talking about the supernatural realm. And for those listening out there, I'm sure most of you know, if you're a return listener, that we do have another radio show called Celestial Oddities, which encompasses Celestial Oddities' Pair of Normal Guys podcast and Oddworld.
Ooh.
Both shows give you a little bit of everything from detailed stories and theories on all occult and supernatural topics, to Oddworld, which is where we take phone calls from all over the world to listen to great stories of everything you can think of. Our last episode had witch doctors in Africa from our caller in Zimbabwe, to possessions and poltergeists in Pennsylvania, to alien sightings in Mississippi. So don't miss it. We certainly got some great calls and some great content. You can check that out at Celestial Oddities. And you can also check out our paranormal team on Facebook at Celestial Oddities Paraseekers. We are constantly going to famous locations around the country and bringing you the best in underground paranormal activity. We are not the bullshit that you see on Discover Channel, folks. We are not faking sounds. We are not faking scenes. We are 100% legit. We care about what we give to you, and we will only ever give you full integrity. So make sure you check it out. Now, without further ado, we are back with Victoria De Mare on the show, and we are going to talk a little bit. We've already talked about her film career and getting into this wonderful world of film and horror, but now we're going to kind of switch gears a little bit on you and talk about her music career, which we kind of spoke briefly of before the break, with wonderful titles of #Twat and Fuck You and many more. And we're going to be jumping back into that. What led you to music? Obviously, we know as a little girl that you wanted to be in film, and we know that story. But was that something as well that you always planned on, or did that kind of come about over the years?
I'm pretty sure that I've come to another lifetime in like the 20s or 30s or something where I was also a performer. Because music also really passionately struck me as a child. It was kind of like one of those rainy day situations where a family member was visiting my uncle on my father's side, who had lived in New York City. And he came to visit for the weekend. We lived about an hour and 15 minutes or so outside of New York City. And they, out of nowhere, on the porch by the pool, literally this movie, these acoustic guitars literally came out of their ass. I'd never seen them before. I didn't carry them around. Where they appeared, I couldn't even come in the porch. Where they just appeared. And they started to sing, it was a Kenny Rogers song, Reuben Jane, and harmonizing and playing this song I'd never heard before. And so I was like, what is this and what is happening? And did they create that song? They wrote that song, and who's that about? Who's Reuben Jane? And I didn't even know they could play these instruments. And again, where the hell they come from? And they're singing and harmonizing, and it literally blew my mind. And again, I think I was around 5 or 6 years old. So I was like, what is that? I just saw, and I didn't know you people could even do that. And then it was who are you people? This was my father and uncle that I thought I was so close with and knew everything about. And you're like, what? Who are you? And so thus began my passion of music and playing out my repertoire. That I wrote, that I was the artist of the song, performing them as if they were mine. Saw my stuffed animals whatnot.
That's awesome, though. I mean, it obviously had an impact on you. You weren't expecting it. It was something you didn't know that they did, but it captivated you enough that you started practicing and wanted to do that as well. So obviously, you've done that. You've put out quite a little discography for yourself at this point. I'm sure long from being done or far from being done. So definitely, I think fans out there who are listening, obviously check out her film career, check out her past releases in film, but make sure you also pick up her albums and support her on that side of things as well, because as I've always said on the show, you guys and gals are the lifeblood of us artists out there. When you buying that album, you buying that movie, that merch, that artwork is what gives us not only financial support, but mental support. Sometimes it's a hard thing. Sometimes that extra purchase and that extra message from you fans out there is enough to make us go to the next figure, or sell the next drawing, whatever it might be. So make sure you support this lovely lady and give her a lot of likes, shares, and follows, and pick up anything you can.
Thank you. I was in bands for years, cover bands and whatnot, all throughout college and post-college and into my professional career. And all bands are good enough, and I'll never break up with myself. And I love creating music in my head, what it's going to sound like, and then going to the studio and making that a reality with musicians and instrumentalists, and creating something that'll live forever, and listening to it 100 times myself and wanting the whole world to hear it and enjoy it. I think that music is the only real universal language. Music is the only way, I think, to bring the world together as a global community. Even if you don't understand the language that the lyrics are being sung in, you still understand the feeling the voice is making, and even if you don't play the instruments, you still understand the feeling that the musicians are conveying with those instruments, and the sound that instrument is making is still having an effect on you, and we can all relate to those feelings and thoughts. And so I felt that music is just so important. I can imagine going days without hearing music, whether it's in my own home or in the store or in my car or just on the street coming from somebody else's car. I could never imagine watching any kind of media content without music or existing without music.
No, I 100% agree. Now, I apologize because there's a comment coming in. Anthony, I'm not sure. I didn't hear anything on my end. He had left a comment that says, do you guys hear music at the same time they're talking? But there is no music playing in front of me, so I'm not sure, brother. I don't think so, but if there is, I apologize.
It's God playing God's music.
God's playing God's music. I don't know. That or the electronics are glitching out, which we talked about earlier. Electronics, have been seeming to do weird things lately. And I don't know if it's just me, because as we did talk about on the break, I am involved with a lot with the paranormal and go around a lot of different locations and deal with a lot of spirits. But I have noticed lately that electronics have been doing some very funky things around me the last several weeks. Just not acting proper and glitching out or freezing when it shouldn't. I don't know. It's been very strange. I've had some encounters recently with some very powerful forces that I don't know if it's like a metaphysical residue that's still somehow attached to me and it's causing issues. But folks, if you were hearing music during her last answer, I apologize. Hopefully you still made it out, because I don't hear anything, and I don't think Victoria does either, so I'm not sure.
No, sometimes I hear music in my head, but no, that's not it.
No, absolutely. Music's always playing. As you said, music is it's an amazing thing, and I liked a comparison that I had read in a book that that music's almost like a form of ritual. That ritual a lot of times uses certain vibrations of word to summon certain forces. Well, what is music? Music is hitting key notes on instruments and vocally to create a certain shaped in sound that you structure, you craft, and you tighten. And then when you play it, you try to play it to perfection over and over again, just like a ritual. You try to nail it over and over again. Well, what does it do when you perform this ritual on stage? People bob their head. It changes their mood. It changes them from sad to happy, from happy to angry, from angry to sad. It controls our emotions. It controls how you act. It makes people act differently than they normally would. You put 1,000 people in a room and turn a band on, give a couple drinks or a little bit of alcohol out there, things change. music is a true form of ultimate ritual. And I never looked at it that way before. I've always been involved in music, but when I read that, I'm like, well, damn, you just blew my mind, Book. But that is very true. That's why I think music will always, I've acted a little bit, nothing obviously anywhere the skill you have, but I mean, I've acted a little bit. I've done a lot of different things in different branches of entertainment. But music will always hold the key for me, just because I feel like that's the universal language of everyone.
Yes, exactly. I 100 exactly percent agree. 150 million% agree. Exactly. And I never even looked at it from a technical sound barrier, ritualistic, sound waves. And I mean, when you technically break it down to the sound waves and the energy and what's happening, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's exactly right. It's exactly what it is. And I think that's why it's so powerful.
Well, I mean, and people don't look at it that way, but you can. I'm a very big, heavy death metal lover. I love hardcore music, and I always have. But it's like you can be in a regular mood. Someone put on this badass, tasty jam of a great band. As soon as it comes on, you start like curling your face up. You kind of like clenching your muscles, and you're like, yeah, all right. And you're like stomping your feet, and you're like ready to punch a hole through the wall. Why? Yes. Why? Just because the song came on, and then they turn the song off, and you go back to normal. Now, normally you don't think about it. You're just like, yeah, I love that jam, but you don't realize that jam just had full control of your body and your mind, and exactly. It took over you. It was a possession of sound, and it's a very powerful thing. And ever since I read that, I've always looked at music differently, and I'm like, now every time I hear a song, I'm like, they're trying to get me. No, we got some comments saying it's good now. So yeah, Anthony, I don't know, man. Like I said, I don't know what was happening there. I apologize if there was any disturbances during the interview. I hope not. But if there was, folks, I'm sure you could make out to the best of your ability on that last part. We have another comment saying, hey, sorry I'm late, by Deborah. Deborah, I'm not sure what to tell you about being late. I guess, start planning.
Better late than never.
You're better late than never. But you can always stroll back and watch the episode or listen to the episode on any platform out there from start to finish. So if you did miss any, don't worry, you're not missing out. You can always go back and check it out. But thank you for tuning in tonight. And then we have a bunch of random comments, once again, that I have absolutely no idea what they mean, so I'm just not going to read them. So sorry, guys, but we still love you. Now, what's next in the plans for Victoria De Mare? What music, movie? What do you have on radar right now as your main focus coming up in the very near future?
I have really been creating a lot of music for some new movies. Excuse me, short films as well as feature films, and some web series content that'll be easily accessible online, which is so fun to be able to sit down with the filmmaker and take the notes, and you kind of just go crazy. Like it's a song on a radio in the background of this bedroom, or a car radio, or it's the prevalent song in the scene, and it's it's hard rock, or it's pop, or it's it's a singer-songwriter folk, or this and that, and just going crazy, kind of whether you're watching the rough cut of what's been put together already, or kind of just meeting and discussing like the feeling and the vibe and the genre and what kind of they want to convey, whether it be the theme song of the film, the end credit, the opening credit, or just one of the scenes in the feature production or short, whatever it is. It's always fun to be in short films. Some people go, oh, short films, well, where can I see it? Well, at film festivals. The film festival community worldwide is as thick as thieves. And, for the cost of a movie ticket that you'd purchase at a cinema house, you can go to a film festival and watch, 50 films, short films that are 10 minutes long or 50 minutes long or 30 minutes long. So film festivals are a wonderful place to see short films. And some indie movie houses, when they can open again, do have short screening nights where they'll have generally films that have come there through film festivals that have been very popular, who have won awards or been nominated for awards, and they'll have like a short night of screenings, which is kind of fun. And so it's always fun to go to film festivals so you can kind of learn about new filmmakers that did a short, and then all of a sudden they're out with the next big film in the theaters, and they were creating content for film festivals through short films. So they're always fun to watch. It's kind of like watching YouTube, but on the big screens, where you're kind of like flicking through and watching some fun content that is like short. Literally the running time is short, and it's kind of fun to go to a short film festival because you're kind of seeing that on the big screen.
No, absolutely. It's a great place to discover a lot of different things you wouldn't normally see, and you can do it kind of sporadically back to back in a short burst of time.
Yeah, and you can watch, and it goes from comedy to horror to sci-fi to, drama to, period piece to, whatever, where it's really a nice eclectic catalog of content. But so mostly I've been creating some new songs for some new films, which I'm really excited about. Getting back into the studio and finishing some of those because of the pandemic and the lockdown and quarantining. I've done as much as I could. Being commissioned to do these songs is frustrating because a lot of times they send you in advance, and it's really wonderful. And then I've done everything that I could from where I am, but I have to physically get into the studio to do some other work, and I can't finish the song and deliver it to them, to collect, so to speak. So that kind of gets a little frustrating. And I have literally a slate of 4 films to shoot in a row. As soon as we have the green light to do so. In June, I started back on one film, and they literally started back one day on production and had to shut down again. Oh, wow. The unions have okayed us to go back as long as we abide by all the new COVID-19 safety rules and regulations according to each production. So there have been some films and TV productions that have slowly gone back into production, but most of them, the producers are pulling the plug after a couple days. And a lot of performers and actually entertainment professionals behind the camera, the crew and whatnot, are not wanting to return back to work yet until, especially in the state of California, where we're still in the orange, kind of bordering the red, and have had the highest death rate, I think, in one day was 197 people a couple weeks ago. So we've actually surpassed Florida in having the highest death toll in one day. So it's kind of been insane. There have been some productions that have been going back into shooting in their production schedule outside of California and in the Southwest and whatnot, but they're also shutting down from what I've heard as well. Some casting notice I've seen going up for some future production dates in the fall, but that's what was happening in the spring for the summer, and they've all gotten shut down and pushed again. So it's very frustrating to not be able to go to work and do those things. I have to physically go to work mostly. I can't work from home with what I do. As a performer, I have to physically go to the set. I have to physically go to the stage. I have to physically go to the recording studio to do a lot of what I do. So that is really frustrating because I love what I do. It's like my whole entire world in life, and I'm working on 4 to 5 different productions a week. So over the past few months, I've worked on 3 modeling jobs, and I did 1 remote job on a documentary. So 4 jobs in the past 4 or 5 months is agony for me because I'm working on 4 to 5 different jobs a week generally, especially to make a living as a performer. I'm working on short films and music videos and industrials and commercials and web series, and a day here and there on all different features, in order to survive. So this pandemic has really, I've really taken it up the hoo-ha on this one, and when I didn't want it up the hoo-ha. Exactly.
No, it's been very, obviously across all industries, but it's been very interesting this past year, and interesting in a this year's a ball of shit type of way. And, we're all making it through the best we can and pushing through it. But yeah, nothing can get done at an efficient pace because, as you said, you start production, then you have to end production. You have so many rules that it makes it almost damn near impossible to do anything. But at the same time, we don't want to lose sight that we need these rules and things because obviously this is a very serious thing and a lot of people have died at this point. So it's one of those things that it's wow, it's really stunted the world.
I know.
And we try not to be too self-centered because we're all well, this is ruining my year. Well, yes, it is, but it's ruined a lot more in a lot worse way than us. But it's it is making it difficult. It is a day-to-day process right now. I feel every day you just push to the next one. I'm hoping that by 2021, this is kind of just a rear view item that we can put in the rear view, let it go, just chalk 2020 up for just sucking and moving on with life like we normally did. Because I want to get out to the movie theaters and see some movies. I want to get out to a concert. I'm itching, and just get around people. You know what I mean? I want to hang out with friends again. I don't really have friends, but if I did, I'd want to hang out with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I finally freaking got in movies in movie theaters that were actually playing in movie theaters where people could go like worldwide and like buy a ticket and like actually see me in like the cinema in a movie, like multiple movies, not just one. And then the mother effing pandemic hits and all the movie theaters shut down.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think so. Not today, Victoria. We're shutting you down.
It took me 20 fucking years to get in movies and theaters. And then the fucking movie theaters shut down. And then there's like one film still playing in a couple like drive-ins, but it's like, it's only in certain states, like in the U.S., that doesn't include like the rest of the world. And it's like, but damn it, you know?
Yeah, no, that's bad timing.
I was booking like auditions and callbacks and like for like these major movies and major like TV shows and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, like finally, like I was actually shooting movies opposite like Academy Award like nominees, like for real, and like winners and stuff, where I was like auditioning opposite these like Academy Award winners, and I was like, this is it. And then, pow! Like I got punched right in the gut and the face at the same, and the like CUNT at the same time. Like it was like bam, 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 like
triple punch.
What just happened? You know? And I was like, oh my god! It literally took me like 21 years to get here, and then it was like it took me 21 years to get to a party, and then I got there, and it was just like they had to shut the party down. The cops came, they had to shut it down, and I was like, what?
You know what though? I think that there's a breaking point. Eventually, it will go away, and I think it's going to change things a lot because, I mean, honestly, I think at first I'm not even going to go out when everything really goes back to normal because it's going to be chaos. I mean, everybody's going to be flooding it like madness. But I think it will have a good effect because it'll make people look at life a little bit differently, and I think we'll all get back to a happy state, want to be out of films, and it'll pack the movie theaters more than it ever does. It'll pack all kinds of things. It'll be weird at first. The first few months after things truly go back to normal, I don't think it'll be the best because I think people still be kind of leery, but after that finally flips, the teeter-totter goes the other way, everyone's going to flood everything. Restaurants, bars. I mean, it'll be packed. You won't find people sitting at home. The homes will be desolate. Burglars will love it.
Right.
It'll be, burglars, it's your time, guys. The time for you is now.
Like, the lockdown and quarantine didn't hit me at, like, not being able to go to work sucked, but other than, like, I go and, like, shoot a 15-hour day, and then like I'm home, like working out and reading and studying and like watching movies until like I'm going back. I'm reclusive by nature and just want to like work all the time. So the complete quarantining and lockdown, like having to stay home, didn't affect me as badly as some people who are like stir crazy, like I have to get out of my house or I'm gonna go, like I'm gonna explode. But it was the not being able to go to work. I was like, well, I wasn't cool with that.
No, I get it, though. I mean, luckily I was working throughout all of it, and I travel to my job, and I was able to still do that. So that was my little bit of getting out. But aside from work, that was it. And during it, we were working, 60-hour weeks, 6 days a week for 11 weeks straight at one point. And so there was nothing else but work. Drive to work, drive home, sleep. That's all it was. And I started to go a little insane. I think by about week 10, I started getting the itch that I'm like, I'm going to snap. I'm like, it's coming. I'm on the verge of an entire breakdown. And luckily, I got a breath of second air and we're good now. But it's been a little bit wild. But looking at the clock, it looks like we are almost out of time. So before we wrap up for the evening, Victoria, I would like you to tell us, to any fan listening out there, maybe, where you once were 21 years ago, looking at the options of getting into music, looking at the options of getting into film, wanting to follow their dream and just not knowing how, whether they have the confidence that you had that, hey, I'm a fucking rock star from the get, or whether they need to build that up. What advice would you give them if to someone just getting into this?
21 years ago, I was homeless on the street, and in that time, I never lost sight of the fact that I could become an action figure, and I did, and I could become comic books, and I did, and I could work with my childhood heroes like Steven Seagal and Charles Flesch, Roger Rabbit, Charles Fleischer, et cetera, Sid Haig. I never lost sight of the voice in my head, the feeling in my gut, in my chest, in my being, and the vision in my head of seeing myself reading fan mail and actually on the set going to doing these jobs and living that as a day-to-day reality. I never lost sight of it. So I would say never lose sight of that vision and that hunger inside your being. That is whatever your purpose is whatever you do best, and the combination of what you do best and you love best, and whatever the naysayers are and the doubt and the fear, that's all, that's always going to be there. That's the good and the bad. That's the light and the dark. That's the angel and the devil. That devil's always going to be there to be like, well, you think you're really going to do that? Maybe not. You could also possibly get hit by a car tomorrow, but that's not going to stop you from living today. So don't let the doubt and the fear and the naysayers and the negativity stop you, because that's never going to go away. That's the law of polarity. That's the good and the bad, the light and the dark. It's always going to be there. So always choose the light, because that's the only thing that kills the darkness. And follow your passion, follow that feeling inside your being, because that's your higher self telling you what you can't see. It's showing you what you can't see. So follow it, because that's who you are. That's why you exist. And don't let fear stop you. It's false evidence appearing real. You're creating it. Don't let it stop you. It's like a horror movie. It's for your entertainment. He's testing us. He's testing us. Sometimes people will reject you 7 times just because they're so negative, and they just have to reject you 7 times. So go back the 8th time, and you're going to get that job. Don't worry.
That's it. And you hit a lot of the key points of spirituality and how to ascend and how to achieve your goals in life. And that is exactly it. Is you never lose sight of the focus of where you want to be. You keep your mind set and in tune to that vibration and project that vibration, because the law of attraction will pull you in the vibration that you channel yourself in. So if you think, I am going to be an actress, or I am going to be an actor, I'm going to make it to Hollywood, and I'm going to be in movies with my heroes, I'm not going to let something that's false like fear stop me in my tracks, because it's not a real thing. And when you start to see these things and start to really dive into them, you learn to use your brain as a fine-tuned weapon. And when you learn to use that, absolutely anything can manifest, folks. So you heard from Victoria herself.
Absolutely. And I still get to, I've been auditioning, so 6 years old. I'm let's just say I'm on the wrong side of 40 now. And so it's been a really long time I've been doing that, and I still get terrified, absolutely terrified. I'm in fear, like I'm sweating, like I'm gonna have a heart attack, and then that just is a reminder that you're alive, and that's just a reminder that that you're doing the right thing. Because if it doesn't feel terrifying and you don't know, oh my God, how am I ever going to do this? If you don't have that feeling, that's almost a sign of telling you that you're going in the right direction. When a plane takes off, it goes against the wind. It doesn't go with it. So when I don't feel nervous before I hit the set or before I hit an audition, I'm like, there's something wrong here. So don't use those feelings, that terror. Use it. It's there for a reason.
It is. It's there to harness it, pull it in, and then push it back out as your weapon. So you heard it, folks. Well, before we close out for the evening, Victoria, tell us all of your sites and links that you'd like us to check out. Tell us who you would like to thank, and then we'll go ahead and close out for the evening.
Well, I'd like to thank you, because you rock and roll, man. And you and I were like, zzz, like we have like this soul connection. That we have so many things we gel and agree on. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
And I appreciate you, and I appreciate your show and all the work that you do, and your labels and your creativity and everything. It's really awesome. So I'd like to thank you. I'd like to thank the fans in general, everybody who tunes in to this show, who tune into this episode, my fans in general. I do it all for you. I have a website, victoriademare.com. It's a pretty easy website to navigate. It's a read and click kind of website. I love interacting with my fans on social media. I'm on Facebook at the Victoria De Mare. I'm on Instagram at Victoria De Mare, and I'm on Twitter as well at Victoria De Mare. And you can go to the homepage of my website that has trailers for those Steven Seagal movies and Sid Haig movies, and my recent episode on Crip TV. If you like to watch Crip TV, I love them. I love their shows and their episodes, and I have the link directly to my recent episode on that show. I play an unrecognizable character, but that's my forte. And thank you for all the fans worldwide who enjoy music and movies. I love you for loving what we do.
Absolutely. You heard it, folks. Well, thank you so much for everyone tuning in tonight and listening to the show. As I said, if you missed any of it, go back and listen from the beginning as soon as we end. You can stream it. You can download it to your device and have it on the go for drives to work, for just sitting out and enjoying this wonderful weather out there on this wonderful summer that we have. It's the one thing we do get to still enjoy through COVID, is you can always sit on your porch and enjoy the beautiful sunshine. So please listen to the show. Listen to all past episodes. Click the like, share, and follow button. The more that you do that on the platforms you listen to us from, the more that we move up the podcast community rankings, the more people that discover the show, and the bigger and better things that we can do. This one, unfortunately, is coming to an end after next episode, but we still have our paranormal show, Celestial Oddities, so make sure you check that out. That comes to you twice a month, every month, with great topics. And to everyone that supported Uncovering the Underground over the last few years, thank you. You have been the lifeblood of keeping me going and doing this show, bringing great guests like Victoria on the show and getting to pick their brain, so thank you. We have one episode left next Thursday night, and that is going to be with a band called War, spelled W-O-R, and they are from North Carolina. They are an amazing metal band that has a sound that just really resonates with me. As soon as I heard it, I knew I had to bring these guys onto the show, so make sure you check that out at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And other than that, we'll be closing out for the evening. Victoria, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was truly a pleasure to talk with you. And as you had mentioned, our souls certainly connected. And it's always great to meet people, and it'd be like old friendships kindled again the very first time you talk.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a great show.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And everyone out there listening, have a wonderful night. Be safe, and we'll talk to you next week. Take care. And thank you for listening to Uncovering the Underground.